So what lays before me here is a semi-assembled Harvey Compass, like ST 1500 sliding table for a table saw. And, I'm really excited about this tool. I came across it because I knew a guy that was selling it for what I thought was a great price, and so I went for it. There is a major problem though, according to the manuals, it is not compatible with my table saw. I have a SawStop Contractor Saw, and but I think maybe I can make it work. I think if I can make it work, this would be really helpful for me. I make a lot of furniture. I make that require a lot of big panels. And so if I had a way to like do repeatable crosscuts on panels, it would be very helpful. And so, I am excited, I am hopeful, and like hopefully I can just make it all work. But I am not very like mechanically inclined and like putting things together. And then also considering I'm going to need to do some sort of alteration to make this all work, I don't know how it's going to go. But the reason I'm even making this video is that, technically I am a professional woodworker in the sense that people pay me to make furniture for them. But I am not, in a lot of ways, I don't feel like a professional woodworker. I work out of my home garage that I converted into my workshop, and my current setup is just this blend of like the hobbyist tools I had when I started woodworking and like these slow upgrades I make as I need or can afford to do. And used to, I felt like kind of alone in that. But the more I get into this community, the more I think that this is actually the majority of woodworkers. The majority of us are just kind of cobbling it together as we go and, trying to upgrade our tools as our businesses grow. So, maybe there's somebody else at a contractor saw who would like a sliding table and, this could be helpful for them. So I thought I would record it to see how it goes. And then like, if it works out, fingers crossed, maybe somebody else might need to do it. So I have upgraded my contractor saw to the cast iron wings. I don't even know if you have the stamped wings, what the bolts hole pattern thing is, but the guy that I bought the sliding table from, I measured his holes and mine, and they're actually, the pattern is the same, and the overall size is the same. And so I think the only problem that makes this not compatible with that sliding table is the fact that the T-glide fence, which I also upgraded, protrudes off the cast irons by like, I think it's like 3/4 of an inch or so. Yeah, so right around 3/4 of an inch. And so I, the options I would guess are either I can cut my table saw fence, which I'm a little hesitant to do, or I was thinking of just putting in like a spacer block here between this and the sliding table. So the sliding table should sit like right here. So I'm going to try that first. And then if worse comes to worse, I don't know about metalworking. Like, I'm not even comfortable to try to cut this. I don't know what I would even need, but I do have friends that do metal work. And so I'm going to ask them to help me if I decide that the only way to do this is to cut the fence. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to try to mill a piece of hardwood that can act as a spacer between here, and then I'm going to replicate the bolt hole pattern and just get longer bolts to go through these holes. I figure if you're adding a sliding table to your table saw, you already know your way around woodworking and you don't need a step-by-step on milling your board to size. But just a quick summary, I ran the spacer through my planer to get it to width, leaving it long to trim off any snipe. Then I cut it to length on the miter saw and ripped it to height on the table saw. My original plan was to clamp the spacer to my table saw and use a brad point bit to transfer the hole locations directly from the table. I thought this would be the most accurate way to do it. But once I got the wood in place, I saw there was only about an inch of clearance behind the bolt holes. And I couldn't think of anything that was short enough to actually mark the hole locations accurately. Everything kind of went in at an angle, so I couldn't get the center of the hole. with that little of clearance, even a pencil wouldn't really mark the locations accurately. So instead, I decided to make a template. And so I just grabbed some paper, tape, and one of my son's broken crayons, and I shaded the edge of the table to pick up the hole locations. I taped the template to the spacer and then drilled the holes using my drill press. Before I did this, I was sure and double checked that the table was square to the bit, and I did use a slightly oversized bit, maybe a 32nds of an inch or so that I could have some wiggle room on the holes just in case anything was out of alignment. After I finished that, I went back to my table saw and mounted the table. And that was quite a struggle. It's really heavy. So I initially tried propping everything up with roller stands, but they ended up just getting in the way. And in the end, the best I could come up with is just measuring my saw's height and then trying to preset the sliding table legs to approximately the same height. And I just used those to kind of balance it while I got the first bolt through. This was by far the hardest part of the whole thing, but once I got that first one attached where the table at least wouldn't fall, the other three were pretty simple. I have it tenuously mounted to my table saw. I used some bolts I just had laying around from I don't even know what. I do think I need slightly longer bolts so that I can really like cinch down on it. So this, I haven't figured out how this thing actually works, and I feel like it's way more complicated than I kind of bargained for. But to mount it, what you just have to do is pull that, and then you have to slide this back, and that's where you have access to the holes. And so, you know, the first one on was tough because you're holding it. This thing is really heavy, actually. But like once you get it locked onto your table, you can kind of use the legs to help prop it up, and you just kind of go down the row. So I have all four, but like I said, I'm going to get some longer bolts, I think. But it's on there, and I think I'll be able to level it. So I would say, like, if you have the contractor saw, the bolt pattern works. You're just going to either need to space it out from your table or cut off your table saw fence. So I don't know how well it works. Am I glad I have it? That I don't know. I mean, that time will tell with that.